Today we're on California's Highway 99 on our way to once again explore Southern California.
Welcome to another episode of History Hunters. We're in Garden Grove at the former Crystal Cathedral. There's a graveyard over here. There's about 5 celebrities I want to find, and they're in a cemetery that looks like it's pretty much underground for the most part. I hope nobody's having a service here today. Beautiful little place here. It doesn't even look like a cemetery, but it is. The first grave that we come to is that of the famous pastor Robert Schuller. He's the one that made this entire compound here. Robert Schuller. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Right here is the headstone for Robert Harold Schuller, 1926 to 2015, and his wife, Arvella, who died in 2014, founders of Crystal Cathedral.
I had a dream. The dream came from God. It didn't start with me. To build a church, to spend all of my life in one place doing something beautiful for God. And I had no money. And one message we're going to continue to give to the world. After I am dead and gone, it'll still be given to the world. And the message is this, that if you can dream it, you can do it. If you can believe it, you can achieve it. And with God, nothing is impossible. And if the idea comes from God, only you can shuttle it or kill it. God knows more about our tomorrows than we know about our yesterdays. That's why I'm an incurable, hopeful person. I'm addicted to optimism. I've got a faith that is sensational. I don't care who you are, where you live, what your religion is. That's not the subject. I'm not here to convert you. I'm here to share with you what I have. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. Can I tell you what that does? All of you can be followers of Jesus Christ. Become a believer in the Bible, which is still the most powerful, holiest book in the world, and read the Bible and follow Jesus Christ.
You know, I don't think there's any kid in America that probably appreciated Robert Schuller being on the TV Sunday morning, especially after Saturday morning cartoons. In fact, my brother-in-law remarked to me the other day that every time Billy Graham came on TV, they would complain about it because it preempted all the other programming that they wanted to watch. And now he tells me that he really appreciated what Billy Graham did. Robert Schuller's ministry went all over the globe. Millions of people watched him. He was also criticized for the extravagant money here spent at the Crystal Cathedral. And I can understand that. I mean, what do? Feed the poor or build a cathedral like that? So I don't know. Still have profound respect for Reverend Schuller. In fact, I wrote to him once. He sent me a signed photo. Never got to meet him though. He seemed like a pretty nice guy.
A brief background on Robert Schuller. He first worked at the Ivanhoe Reformed Church in Riverdale, Illinois before moving to Garden Grove, California. In 1955, he opened what would be his first church in the area, which he called the Garden Grove Community Church. Schuller introduced a drive-in church concept in the old Orange Drive-In movie theater where churchgoers could attend church from their own cars. He preached from the roof of the concession stand at the old drive-in theater. He later also rented a 300-seat former Baptist church 4 miles down the road. In 1961, he built a new church at a cost of $3 million where he could preach his sermons to worshipers in 500 cars as well as those inside the church.
This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
This church was built on what was to later become part of the campus of his future and much larger Crystal Cathedral Church. In 1968, a Tower of Hope structure was added onto the property, which towers 13 stories high. Years later, Schuller purchased a 10-acre walnut grove bordering the north boundary of the church property, where he constructed the Crystal Cathedral, made primarily of glass that would be able to seat over 2,200 churchgoers at the same time. Construction began in 1977 and was completed in 1980 at a cost of $18 million. The Crystal Cathedral Church was the iconic backdrop from which Schuller preached his popular Hour of Power broadcast every Sunday morning for the next 25 years, reaching a worldwide audience of 20 million. In 2008, when the economy hit the skids, Schuller's church met with financial disaster. Beginning in 2010, creditors filed lawsuits to collect money owed to them for providing goods and services and broadcasting the Hour of Power weekly TV show. The church's board filed for bankruptcy in 2010, citing $43 million in debt, including a $36 million mortgage and $7.5 million in other debt. Church officials said that they had been trying to negotiate payments, but after several lawsuits were filed and writs of attachment were granted, the church had to declare bankruptcy. In 2012, the Diocese of Orange bought the property for $57.5 million. It is now known as the Christ Cathedral. Arvilla Schuller died on February 11, 2014 at the age of 84. The Schullers had been married for 63 years. Robert Schuller had battled cancer for the last few years of his life, but he died in 2015 at the age of 88.
When we rolled up here, you almost couldn't even tell that there was a cemetery because it's below ground, so it doesn't have a very high profile. But you access this location by walking down these stairs here, and Reverend Schuller is buried right over there. And if you come right over here, you will find the family graveyard here of John Cornelius Crean, who is the founder of Fleetwood RV. He was a philanthropist, an entrepreneur. His humor and his generosity was widely known, and he made large donations here to the Crystal Cathedral, to the Hoag Hospital, and the Orange County GOP and other charities. After his retirement in 1992, he hosted the TV cooking show at Home on the Range, which ran for 10 years. He published his autobiography entitled The Wheel and I in 2000. Crean died of a congested heart failure at the age of 81. And let's step in here and take a look. Check it out, on the road again. John Cornelius Crean and his wife Donna riding shotgun. That's pretty cool. And here it says the Eternal Village of the Creans, established 2007. Now I'm assuming that that's their house right there, engraved on that marble plaque.
John and Donna Crean helped finance the 236-foot-tall stainless steel mirrored spire, which was completed in 1990 and has become an Orange County landmark. For that reason, the spire is named the Crean Tower. Designed by architect Philip Johnson, it is over 18 stories tall and houses a 52-bell carillon named in honor of Arvilla Schuller for her 35 years of music ministry at the church. Below the tower is the Mary Hood Prayer Chapel, a circular structure set with 33 marble columns representing Jesus' 30 years of life, and 12 white columns representing the 12 apostles.
Now, when you first enter this little lower area, you come down the staircase over there, and then you make your way to the left. And you Disney fans will be pretty delighted to know that I found the grave of Thurl Ravenscroft. He's buried right here in this niche. It looks like it's the cremains. He lived from 1914 to 2005. Now, right now, about 7 miles away at Disneyland, people right now are hearing his voice. His voice is heard at the Disneyland Railroad Station.
Your attention, please. The Disneyland Limited, now arriving from a trip around Walt Disney's Magic Kingdom. Passengers will stand by to board.
He's also heard in Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean, Splash Mountain, and he actually is the voice of Fritz, the parrot that's in the Enchanted Tiki Room. He's the one that has the German accent. So if you've ever been in the Haunted Mansion, you know that your doom buggy goes through the cemetery, and just before you exit the cemetery, off to the right, there's about, I think, 3 or 4 busts of people. The faces are projected onto it. Now there's a mustachioed character that I always thought was Walt Disney. It's not.
Shrouded in black disguise, they pretend to terrorize. When the ghosts come out to socialize.
It's actually the face of Thurl Ravenscroft that you see on the ride there at Disneyland in the Haunted Mansion. A little bit of trivia that a lot of you Disney fans probably don't know. You also know a Thurl Ravenscroft voice if you watched The Grinch That Stole Christmas, the 1965 classic. I think it was shot in 1965. His voice is the one that sings,
"You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch."
That's his voice as well. Also, if you're a kid that grew up in the 60s or 70s, you probably remember Tony the Tiger, the Kellogg's Frosted Flakes mascot. It's his voice.
Come on, boy. We'll put a tiger on your team. Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes. Great big flakes of corn sparkling with a secret sugar frosting. Either with milk or right out of the box, Kellogg's Sugar Frosted Flakes are packed with energy.
They're good.
Good? They're great!
The remains of Mr. Ravenscroft are part of this mosaic of, looks like an adult hand, maybe God's hand holding a child's hand. We're all children of God. He's in the absolute lower left-hand corner. It always strikes me that people whose voices are used prominently in motion pictures and TV and even amusement parks, their voices live on, but yet their bodies don't. Their memories fade. Now, Mr. Ravenscroft was actually intending to join the professional opera circuit. He dabbled in some quartets for a while.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our guest this evening, our popular singing group known as the Mellow Man. They have a very, very wonderful blend, and I'm sure you will enjoy them. Thurl, introduce the fellows.
It'll be a pleasure, Lawrence. On my extreme right, our baritone, Bill Lee. Next to him, our second tenor, Max Smith. Next to me, our top tenor, Bob Stevens. I'm Thurl Ravenscroft, and I sort of carry along on the bottom end.
All the other girls say no, but Wilhelmina, she says mine. All the boys call Wilhelmina Willie,
But I call Wilhelmina mine, mine, mine.
all the other girls say no, 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 but Wilhelmina, she says mine. All the boys call Wilhelmina Willie, but I call Wilhelmina mine.
He found out that when he moved to California that he could make so much more money doing animal characters and voices for Disneyland. So he found his niche in American culture. Now in 1995, Ravenscroft was named a Disney legend. He passed away from prostate cancer at the age of 91. Well, this is a pretty cool cemetery. Plenty of places to bury folks all around. And there's the famous Crystal Cathedral up there. So if you come into the Sanctuary of Praise, you'll see a bunch of niches in here. And right here is the remains of Marie Callender. Yes, she is the Marie Callender of Marie Callender's Restaurant and Pies. She's buried here with some light behind. These are actually cremains in here. The lid on that. And there's a nice, shiny, colorful light shining through here. So Marie Callender was a businesswoman and a restaurateur. She founded the Marie Callender's restaurant chain with her husband and son. They were originally from South Dakota. In 1948, her family grew, and with her help, she sold her car and used the money to spearhead a business venture to capitalize on her success in baking and selling pies out of her home in Huntington Beach. She and her son rented a World War II Quonset hut in Long Beach, purchased a baking oven, refrigerator, and a few implements, and named the venture Marie Callender Pies. With her recipes and her guidance, the family began making pies to be sold to area restaurants. 2 years later, the family was making 200 pies a day. Now, 15 years later, they opened up this outlet in Orange called Marie Callender's Pies, and from there they started adding more than just pies. They turned it into a full-fledged restaurant, And I think by the 1980s, there were at least 80 such restaurants throughout California. And I think even in Texas, they had a few. Now, as she got older, of course, she retired. She retired to Laguna Hills, California. She died at the age of 87 from cancer. Now, today, I believe that you can still go through some grocery stores in the country and find her frozen pies and some of her frozen foods in the frozen food section. Now, today, there's about less than 20 restaurants that still remain in the United States, mostly in California. In fact, there's one in our hometown. There's one in Sacramento as well. The chain rose to significance, and then it has sadly faded through time. Now, when you come down the stairs into this, I guess you call it a cemetery / mausoleum, if you veer off to the right and come down through this section, you will come to the first glass crypt area, and you will see the crypt here of Roger Williams, who is considered to be one of the greatest piano players of the 21st century. His interpretation of Autumn Leaves in 1955 earned him the #1 placing on the pop charts, along with the gold record status. Now, this was followed by Wantigue in 1956, originally from the 1928 musical The New Moon, and his tranquil recording of Till in 1957 earned gold record status. Now, he enjoyed a top 10 placing with Born Free. I think I remember Born Free the most. It was from the film in 1966 by the same name, which peaked at #7, Born Free. I mean, that's an amazing song. He also electrified audiences in such prestigious venues as Carnegie Hall, the Hollywood Bowl, and the Las Vegas Strip. He became the first pianist to receive a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame. Williams died of pancreatic cancer. I think if there's any song from the 60s that brings me back to my childhood, it's Born Free. Hearing that piano pound out that song is pretty nostalgic for me.
Statuary on the grounds outside the cemetery includes the biblical character of Job, who, despite his painful affliction, demonstrated his unwavering trust in God.
Sarah, you like the Murray calendars, or you used to like?
Yeah, I used to like Murray calendars. My favorite thing was the all-you-can-eat soup and salad bar, their cheese potato soup. Very good. And their salad bar always had the best options for ingredients to build your salad. Very good.
It's hard to find one now. There's less than 20 in the country.
I don't know. The one near us, someone took over ownership of it, and they have not upheld the quality standards, so we haven't been back there in a while because of that.